is, boy, sometimes you come out here in the morning. I recorded some of that earlier, but you sit out here when it's quiet and you just listen to the birds and you see those animals walking around. Because in the morning they're active. Right now they're not active because it's too hot for them, you know. But they're stimulated because we're here, you know. So anyway, I think I wanted to go back to the story yesterday. How did it all start for me? Like, Mary, if you come over here.
I like how you're a director as well.
Well, Mario's pretty good, you know.
What's happening, Mario?
But you know, for me, it all started a long time ago. My parents took me. I was born and raised up in New York. My parents took me to a zoo. I don't even know if today if it was a real tortoise I was looking at or an artificial tortoise, but I was just so impressed with those animals that you know I just was I guess impressed. You know, I just was fascinated with them. And I remember telling kids in school, "All right, you come a little this way. There you go." Oh, that help you not get those guys, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to fit everybody in.
Yeah, okay. Maybe we tighten up. Oh, then we're screwing him up. All right, so much for my directing
Yeah, you're doing
skills.
good. You're doing good.
So anyway, the thing is that you know I remember telling the kids in school, you know, someday I'm going to get a big tortoise. And stuff. You can't get a tortoise like that. They'd say, you know, that things are a fortune. They're a lot of money. And I just thought to myself, gosh, I guess I got to figure out how to make a lot of money, you know. And it was always a drive, and I was always thought I was working towards something of a way of being able to get the you know those animals by making money. So it motivated me. And then you know I would go on and people say, you can't get those animals. They only a zoo can get those animals. I said, you know what? I have to figure out how to get a zoo now. You know, I mean, they could have said to me, you know, you have to go to the moon. I probably would have thought maybe, you know, how do I get to the moon? When you know, when somebody has that passion, that drive, it's hard to stop. So it followed me through my life. You know, life takes a lot of twists and a lot of turns, and so you know, I ended up doing a lot of things. I always made a lot of money. I was in electronics. I was in satellite. I was in television for a while. I did security cameras for a while. Always very technical. But you know, in those years I was building my collection back here as I was working. And then one day, you know, I mean, I was always involved. I had a lot of passion to do to treat the animals, to understand the animals medically, because at the time when I started collecting, there wasn't a lot understood about these giant tortoises. So, you know, I did studies with some of the vets where we looked at their DNA and we looked at their blood profiles, trying to establish our own what was a normal blood profile. That way, if the animals ever were sick, we had something to look back on and say, okay, well, this is how the blood is has changed. But just being able to deal with them, trying to give them a shot, trying to put a tube down their throat if you've got a tube feed them, or even how to tell if they're sick, being able to recognize the evidence of disease and what's gone wrong, you know, and most of that in the reptile community, especially, is really tied to the environment. You know, people screw things up. They don't have the right sun. They don't have the right UV. They don't have the right diet. They don't understand that the tortoises have to be able to walk around. There's a certain amount of health just being able to walk around. So, you know, that was, you know, I guess where I took it. You know, I retired back here, you know, a while back, and you know, it's been great for me because I've had that release to be able to help. I feel like I'm helping people, and I feel like I'm giving back to the tortoises that took me around the world. That's really it for me, you know.
How do they take you around
Well, I mean, you know, I've gone to different countries and observed them. You know, I've been to the Galapagos. I walked
the world?
around the jungles of Galapagos. You know, not in the facility where in the Darwin station, but trying to find them in their natural environment and what they were doing and stuff like that. So, you know, it's I've met a lot of people. It's become my life. You know.
And do you think it's like I have no view on this. I'm just curious. But when people bring like animals from different parts of the world to Florida, for instance, is it like, you know, yeah? I guess what's your take on that?
Well, if you're talking about should you take the animals out of the wild and should you bring them here, that
Yeah.
type of, you know, it's a thin line. I'll tell you because you know it depends really what's happening, to what extent it's happening, if the laws are being obeyed. But you know, there's you know um, a lot of importance in establishing what we call insurance colonies. These animals are disappearing. They're going
Yeah.
extinct around the world. And some of these animals are only found today within private collections.
Yeah.
So, the people who are doing private collections are not the monsters in that, sometimes you'll see them made out to be. The government, with everything that they try to do, they have a lot of stupid laws in the books that has done more to disrupt the breeding and the propagation of a species and stop them from going extinct than they have in the laws that they've created to try to protect the animals, because they don't see the whole picture. They just don't see the whole picture. So, there are places in the population. There are places in the world where there was a story of a lot of tortoises in a particular jungle in South America. I can't think of what it is, but they were exporting those animals, and then they got blocked. They said it's illegal to export these animals. So, what did the villagers do? They killed all of the animals. Well, but that was the way that they made money. That was the way they traded.
Wow.
So now they killed all the animals so they could plant crops because they still had to eat. So what was right, what was wrong, somewhere something needed to be done a little bit more to control the situation. Where, just slamming a law to a third world country who sees that as their product or their revenue is not necessarily the answer. But I'm not condoning smuggling, and some of what goes on today is horrific. These people have, there's stories of them collecting hundreds and hundreds of endangered animals, and they have to hide from the authorities. So they put them in these little houses and these little warehouses, and you go in there. A lot of times they're found because of the stench that somebody reports what the animals are going through. So you see them piled 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 high. So all those endangered animals are dying because of the illegal poachers that are going on. That's where the laws are important. That's what we have to stop. But we all have to figure out a way to work together from one end to the other. If we can figure out a way to work together and listen to each other, I think we can accomplish a lot more than we're accomplishing right now, because there are some laws that really just don't make sense.
I think that's true for everything.
Yeah.
We start to listen to each other and
just slap a law at something. There's a reaction.
Right.
Newton's law.
Well, you look at prohibition, right? What did that do? Prohibition fed the mafia. Prohibition fed the criminals. What was this? There was a better way to have dealt with that. We're going through, I think, the same thing now with the laws with fish and wildlife and everything. So driving things underground and making things prohibited, that's not necessarily always the answer. Plus, I don't think it's smart to divide the responsible reptile community, the zoos, a member of the ZAA, to isolate us from fish and wildlife. We have to work together to protect the animals against the bad people. So, that's my view on animals and whether they should be in captivity or be in zoos or not. Yeah.
Case by case basis, one at a time.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
No, I
Sure.
really appreciate that.
Yeah.
This is